We are now live. Hello, folks. Welcome back to the F1 account. Welcome back to lockdown. Welcome back to the UK, where I am at the moment. Will Buxton with you once again, and bringing to you today an interview with someone I can't wait to talk to, because every week this goes by, it's another week without talking to all these guys that we get so used to hearing from week in, week out during a regular season. And this is someone who's been, I think, relatively quiet, well, certainly in the virtual domain that we've become so used to. But here he is to talk to you. Get your questions in. We're going to be answering your questions in a few minutes' time. But we welcome to the chat. And I don't even know where he is at the moment, which is going to be all the more interesting. Kevin Magnussen, hello.
Hey, Will.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good. And may I say that is a handsome beard.
The Corona beard.
It's amazing, man. I mean, that. Are you going to have to shave that off when we get back to racing? Because that's going to weigh you down.
Yeah, very.
It's huge.
It's well hidden inside the helmet, so it's okay.
How are you? How's lockdown treating you?
Pretty good. Obviously, it's not the best, not the situation we or anyone wished for, but got to make the best of it. And I think it's been pretty interesting to be in a situation where you're forced to stay at home and do nothing, and you find new ways of spending your time and keeping entertained.
Yeah, totally. Where is home for you at the moment? Where are you spending your time?
My home is London, but I went to Denmark to stay with my family in Denmark. So yeah, that was a good decision. It's been okay in Denmark. It's not been, obviously we've had a lockdown, and so it's not a good situation, but it's a better situation than many other places. So yeah. I'm happy I went back to Denmark and spend time with Louise, my wife, and a few of my family members.
Lovely. And I saw from a couple of videos you've been spending time on the boat, which looked like a lovely way to spend the downtime.
Yeah, exactly. We went on a little sail on the sailboat, and there wasn't much to do, not many places to go, but at least just getting on the water, fishing a bit, and just spending time on the water in the sun. It's been brilliant weather as well, so we did that, and that was great. You
can't get more socially distant than
exactly.
being on a boat. It must be amazing. How are you adjusting to this? Because I know you take yourself away over the winter and you were doing a lot of sailing over that time, but this being the new reality, the new normality, and for you guys who, since you were 6-7 years old, have been touring and racing, and it's been non-stop for your, not just your adult lives, but your adolescent lives. Is this, how's it been getting used to just not doing anything?
It's not great. It's not it's not nice. I don't enjoy it, but I mean, I tried it once in 2015 when I was on the sideline,
of course, yeah.
not racing for McLaren. So in that year, I didn't drive a lot, and it's no fun. So I'm looking forward to getting back in. It's different though, because I know that we will get started at some point this time. So there's a lot more optimism, and it's a bit different. But yeah, it's been too long now, and it was terrible. You got to drive the car in Barcelona, and you were getting pumped for the season, and then traveling to Australia, spending Thursday at the track talking to all the engineers about practice on Friday, and really just getting ready, going to bed on Thursday evening, then waking up on Friday ready to go. Obviously we had some feeling that there was something going on, but still waking up on Friday ready to go to the track, and then last minute getting told not to come in was pretty disappointing. But of course, the right decision, and it was good we didn't do it, and took care of everyone, and I think we did the right thing, but still very disappointing, of course.
What were your expectations going into Australia, sort of after testing? Was it still a massive case of unknowns, or did you and the team have a kind of a thought of where you guys were going to be?
I think we learned quite a bit from from last season, because in winter testing last season we were pretty optimistic, and we had good reason to be very optimistic because the car was handling very well, and we did some really competitive lap times. Everything was looking very good, so we went into the first race with a lot of optimism, and even in the first race, you know, we got best of the rest, and in P6, so I think it was P6, at least best of the rest. So there was no signs of any problems, and then they showed later on. So I think this year we're taking a much more you know, quiet approach, and trying to stay a lot more humble and take it one day at a time. I think I know we learned a lot last year, and it seems in winter testing that the weakness that we surely were able to see with last year's car were not there on this year's car. So who knows whether we made some new problems? We'll have to wait and see. But I'm very optimistic that we've made very big steps forward.
And you've got this car now for 2 years as well.
Yes, yeah. So hopefully it's a good one.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope.
Yeah.
What are you missing the most? I mean, I know obviously, you know, racing is kind of the easy answer, but is there anything around the side of the sport and the traveling that you're missing the most?
Outside of the sport, I would say just being able to, you know, be socialized with friends and family. Really, I have my mother is she had cancer a few years back, and her immune system is very, very bad. So, you know, I haven't been able to see her, and also, you know, grandparents and stuff. You just got to stay away from them. So that's very you know, that's very frustrating for me, but for them as well. You know, these the older part of the family are having to really be alone in this time. So it's pretty tough for them. You know, us younger people, you know, myself, I've been with my wife, and we've kind of had a you know, few friends that we've been able to see. So it's been a bit easier for us because we can kind of create this little you know, group of people that you're locked in with them, and you can see them. So whereas older, you know, at least in my family, the older people, they've just been alone. So that's really been the toughest part, I guess, the staying away from people.
It's so important to keep in contact, isn't it, with sort of FaceTime and phone calls and those kind of things. You sort of talking about your mum, your grandparents, reminds me of something my daughter said to me, which is that it's the not knowing when you're next going to see people that makes it so hard, because there's normally, like, you know, we're traveling, you know, when that next point is that you're going to see people, it's in 5 weeks time or 3 weeks time or whatever,
right? And
it's that not knowing when that next point is that it just makes it so hard.
It's tough. Yeah. And you know, for them it may be a long time. You know, it might be until, you know, until there's a vaccine or something. So that could be a long time. So it's a tough situation. You know, hopefully we can stay safe and healthy, and you know, get through this. But it's as you say, not knowing how long it's going to take. That's the tough part, I guess.
Right, let's go on to happier discussions, because I want to get onto some videos and some pictures and things of stuff that's been going on. You posted this picture a few weeks ago. I think lockdown's getting to all of us, because, of course, well, I mean, first of all, he's running with Mauricio Gugelmin's helmet. We'll move past that. There's Haas, of course, on Sylvester Stallone's overalls. What on earth led you to watching Driven? One of the single worst movies ever made.
Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's a comic, really, isn't it? It's
Burt Reynolds in the Frank Williams role, though, because it was going to be made about Formula One, and so all the characters are supposed to be F1 characters.
Yes.
And so you've got Burt Reynolds as the team boss in the wheelchair, which was supposed to be Frank. It's insane.
It's a great movie, and I've watched it many times, and it's just one of those movies, you know, as a kid you were just craving, or I was just craving racing movies. So you know, when that came out, you know, that was basically just all there was. So watched it so many times, and obviously I found it funny, and all the crashes, you know, when they were crashing into they crashed and fell into a lake, and the other drivers were coming to save him or something like that. It was ridiculous driving around in the city without helmets and chasing
In a
each
show
other.
car.
Yeah, of course. So absolutely ridiculous. But then I realized, actually, my cousin realized. He sent me that picture and zoomed in on the Haas logo, and suddenly I realized, wow, he was sponsored by Haas. So that was great.
Immense, absolutely immense. Marshall Pruitt, the American journalist, got so bored under lockdown. He's written, I think, a 12,000-word article, and he's gone through the movie minute by minute and recorded every single thing that is untrue or would never happen in real life. And it's just this wonderful litany of how could you make a racing movie that had literally thousands of racing. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
It's perfect.
It's such a guilty pleasure. Let's go to this actually, because this is you at Singapore last year. You've had the fastest lap here 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realise until this morning. What is it about this track, or is it just street tracks, or is there something about this place in particular that you just get into the rhythm of the place?
No, not at all. Quite the opposite, probably. I think it's because we've had such terrible races there the last few years that I've been able to pit at the very end of the race and put a brand new set on, which is not a good thing. So it's all right. I've got the fastest lap, but it's a sign that it hasn't been a great race.
So literally, it's just to try and give yourself something to smile about at the end of a horrible weekend.
It's basically just getting it so wrong that you're having to put on a new set of tires with 5 laps to go.
Oh man. But, I mean, is it a circuit that you like? Is it? Do you like?
I do. I love it. Yeah, I love it. It's a great track. I just haven't really had I've had a decent race. I scored a point in the Renault in 2016, which wasn't an easy car to score a point in. So I've had good races there. I feel like I'm competitive there, but just it hasn't really happened on that circuit. But it's so intense and physical,
relentless, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really it's tough, and the race goes on for ages because the average speed is so low. So you go towards that 2-hour limit, and it's hot, and you're working. You don't have a lot of time where you just where you can relax. It's not like straight when they're not straight, so you're still doing something, and it's a cool track but tough.
I'm going to roll back now right to the very start. A very fresh face, Kevin.
Yes.
What do you remember of your Grand Prix debut?
Well, that moment right there, I remember that.
It could all have gone
nearly losing it 100 meters after my debut started. But it was weird, very surreal weekend. Starting my Formula One career with.
Look at you, so young.
Yeah, it's a long time ago already.
Crazy,
starting
right?
my Formula One career with the team that I always dreamt about racing with, McLaren, and then getting on the podium. It was just a lot to take in, and it felt very surreal.
And then, of course, there was the year after when there's that bizarre set of circumstances where you nearly went to IndyCar, but then the deal didn't happen because the team wanted you in because of what had happened with Fernando and the first race. And it was all such a massive confusion around that. How close did you come to racing IndyCar that year?
I wouldn't say I came that close. It was way too late. I think I went to America to speak to a few teams in February or something like that. It wasn't gonna happen. It was too late. So I just sat the season out. I tried a lot of things. I put a lot of pressure on Ron Dennis to help me out and get me in a car somewhere. I couldn't imagine a year without racing. I hadn't tried that since I was 3 or 4 years old. So it wasn't great, but I got lucky at the end to get the chance with Renault. But during that year, I had no idea what was going to happen. I knew it wasn't good sitting out a whole year. I knew my chances were just getting smaller and smaller, and I started looking at other things. I tested a Porsche LMP1, which was fantastic, and tried to get that seat there, and actually got the seat, had the contract ready, but then the diesel scandal happened, and they pulled out the car that I was going to race in. Then I went, because that didn't happen, I went to do a shootout test in DTM with Mercedes, and got that contract as well. Got offered a deal there, and then things started happening with Renault. Yeah. I started, to get calls from them and talking to them, and but it was dragging out. It didn't happen quickly, and I was, asking for a little bit more time from Mercedes to sign the contract and all that. So they were getting anxious as well to sign the contract, but at the end I had to say no to Mercedes without even knowing if I'd get the Renault contract. So I made a big risk.
Wow.
Because without that I wouldn't have had anything at all for another year. And then luckily it happened with Renault, so I was very lucky.
Amazing. Yeah. And you love to race anything. Like, we've seen you drive in so many different cars over the years. You raced with your dad, of course, famously in the Corvette, was it?
No, I haven't driven the Corvette.
I thought you had. I think you raced with your dad.
We tried to do it, and we got close, but Corvette needed a driver. They needed me to do more than just one race. I was very interested in just Le Mans, but they wanted me to do Daytona, Le Mans, and Sebring, I think, and I couldn't do that, so it didn't happen.
I'd seen a photo of the two of you together, and I'd always assumed that you'd actually competed together.
There is a picture of me and my dad in the same race suit on a podium, but that's because I was just there to watch, and the team gave me a suit so I could be in the pit lane, and then he got on the podium and took me with him to the podium. But that was before I was old enough to race.
What you see, can you? Yeah. Right. Let's take some questions from the fans.
Sure.
Because there's always some good ones that come up in here. Some people, lots of people. I mean, that's great. Looking like a badass Viking with that beard. I think we can all agree. I think we can all agree with that. There have been some great questions that have come in throughout the time on here. I'll start with a good one. When will we see both of you, I guess you and Romain, competing in a virtual GP? Because obviously that's become the big thing over the last couple of months, watching esports, whether it's been IndyCars, Supercars, Formula One. So much opportunity to go and race anything, anywhere at the moment.
That's true. I mean, my dad is getting into it now, and he's
doing well.
Yeah, he's actually pretty good. So
that is he hogging the wheel and the pedal, so you can't race because he's constantly doing it.
No, I've spent a bit of time with him driving on the simulator, and it's actually pretty good fun. But I'm also busy with with karting. I've got hold of a go-kart, and spending a lot of time in that. So I prefer that. It's a bit more fun, really, and also it's physical. So I get a little bit of training out of it as well, and so I prefer to do that. So that's taking a lot of my time at the moment. But I wouldn't say no to a race if I get time.
Great. What's the toughest rival that you've had on track in F1?
The toughest rival, I would say, Fernando Alonso. He is probably the toughest in a battle. Very, 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 very good racer, and a tough racer. So probably him. But there's been a few others as well. I remember Antonio da Costa was a very, very tough
guy.
Racer.
Yeah,
great racer. He was tough. We had a lot of battles. And growing up, I had my cousin Dennis Lind, who was extremely tough as well. He's the guy that I've had most battles with
Really?
of any driver, because we grew up together, racing since we were 3 or 4 years old, and he is very underrated driver, and probably the tough one of the toughest I've raced against.
Good answer. Fans of Drive to Survive want to know: did you actually smash the door at Silverstone?
I did, but it was opening it. I didn't close it, and it was a little bit. I didn't expect it to open that hard.
Oh man!
It was almost an accident.
Did you kind of break it and then leg it, or?
Yeah, yes, but it was, tensions were very high, and we were all so frustrated, and so at the end of that meeting, I ran out and opened the door a little harder than I thought it had opened.
This is great. We've had this question in a lot of these interviews, and it's a really nice one. What's the first thing you want to do when things are normal again?
Go back to the racetrack, drive a Formula One car. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I miss a lot of people that I wanna see, but yeah. So apart from that, getting back on the Formula One track.
Brilliant. There's some questions, because quite a lot of questions in here about driving style. I can't find the best one to put up. I'm just gonna ask it just in general. You're known for being not necessarily aggressive, but like no nonsense to you, and you will get your elbows out in a fight. And some people don't like that. Why do you think some drivers have an issue with the way in which you drive, or do they actually, or is it just like in the heat of the moment they might be upset, and afterwards it's all good?
Well, there's certainly some drivers that have had issues with it and have complained about it, and I'm the first one to admit that I have overstepped the line at some points, but I don't think I'm the only one who's done that. So, but I mean, the thing is, the last few years I've been battling right in the midfield, and often when you're in the midfield, if you're in P10 and you're getting caught from behind from P11, or the other way around, you're P11 catching P10. There's that thing where there's that 1 point to gain. P11 has 0, so there's not really a lot to lose, and there's a lot more reward for risking than there is if you're P5 and you're getting caught or catching P4 or P6. Then there's not that much. It's not so good if you risk a lot, because you can still get points for P6. So there's that. If I'm P10, then I just a few times had some very tough battles for P10. That some of them probably maybe were over the limit. But the way I see it is, you've got to take it to the limit, not over the limit for sure, but you've got to take it to the limit. As with driving style, in terms of lap time, you've got to take it to the limit. The car has to be on the limit. You fight for every little split second on the track, and it's the same towards the other drivers. I think you need to take it not over the line for sure, but to the line. And sometimes that battle, or sometimes that balance can be hard to find. But certainly it's better to be a little bit under than over.
We're going to wrap it up soon, but I want to ask you finally. We very sadly lost Sir Stirling Moss not long ago. Phenomenal racing driver, and a guy that I know you were a tremendous fan of and got to meet. What memories do you have of Stirling Moss?
Well, I've just got one memory, because I spent a day at his home in Mayfair with him and Lady Moss, and that day was just something I'll never ever forget, because he has always been a hero for me, and kind of the to me the definition of a real racing driver, who could drive any car, and would drive any car, and has won, not only races in Formula One, but just in so many different things, hill climb and Le Mans and long distance in Formula One. He's just won in everything, and that to me defines a real racing driver. It was phenomenal in the rain. Nobody could match him in the rain, and also just he was a racing driver in a very, very cool time back in the 60s, 50s and 60s, and I'm just jealous of very jealous of racing in that time. I would have loved to be alive back then.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks, Kev. Finally, do you have a message for all your fans, for everybody out there? And
hang in there. We're all in it together. We all miss it, and we all miss you guys, and I hope you miss us. And hopefully we can get back on track and put on a great show, at least on the television, and hopefully back on the track as well.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks so much for talking to us today, mate. Stay
no
safe.
Worries.
And stay healthy and happy, and hopefully we'll see you very soon, mate.
Cheers. Thank you.
And thanks very much for tuning in, folks. We will see you all very soon. See you later.